Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. And you know, one of the biggest changes, one of the biggest, evolutions in the fishing tackle business, and therefore the fishing sport itself, is the emergence of tungsten. We talked a little bit about it, and a lot of us probably don't care one way or the other about it. But tungsten is playing a huge role in the emergence of new fishing tackle lines and designs. And here's some of the things about tungsten that make it so, changing for our industry. Number one, tungsten is much denser than lead. Now, tungsten is used for sinkers, for jig heads, and even as a major part of some of the finished lures like chatterbaits. So it's important that we look at this. Number one, it is denser than lead. So what does that do? It means a few things. Number one, the same size tungsten weight is going to be much smaller than a lead weight that weighs the same. So your lures can be smaller. It can make the lure that it's helping be much more prominent. I mean, there's a lot of advantages to this. But because it is so much denser, it also is far more sensitive. So everything, especially those baits that you're using, let's say you're using a Texas rig worm and you've got a worm weight that slides down your line and lays against the worm itself. Well, this weight is going to make that worm even far more sensitive, that if you get a little tap, a little nibble on that worm, you're going to feel it more because of the tungsten weight. But here's another big advantage of tungsten, and the reason that they went to it, because a lot of states have laws that were prohibiting the use of lead. Tungsten is far less harmful to the environment than lead. You know, I remember years ago when I was a kid and a young adult, woodcock hunting was a big deal to me. I loved it. I loved it for a number of reasons, and I won't get into that. But woodcock are a migratory bird, and they feed an awful lot on earthworms, and they feed in areas that a lot of people hunt. And so all the lead shot that comes down becomes part of the ground. I know this sounds far-fetched, but it isn't. And it was really affecting the health and even the edibility of woodcock. And that's just an example. All migratory birds were affected in the same way when they get in the wetlands. And so a lot of states said, no, you can't use lead again. You can't have lead in your shotgun shells. You can't use lead sinkers. So tungsten emerges. Tungsten is far more expensive. And so that's going to keep a lot of people from buying tungsten lures and buying tungsten weights. But it really does play a huge role in fishing now. And I think it's making an awful lot of lures and a lot of the other aspects of the presentation that we have much better. And even one of the drawbacks of tungsten was that these weights that go down your line tended to be abrasive. Now they're making them so they're very smooth and it doesn't hurt the strength of your line. So you might take another look and at least understand why so many of the baits and the weights that you see in the fishing tackle market right now are made of tungsten. And yes, they've really risen the price of a lot of lures. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.